Long stretches of asphalt cutting through endless trees, the kind of places where the world felt paused. That illusion lasted until the night I learned the road could watch you back. It happened late in October, when the days were shrinking and the nights seemed to press closer to the ground. I was driving home after visiting a friend who lived far outside town, the kind of place where GPS loses confidence and road signs are more suggestions than rules. The forest road I took was the only way back. 27 miles of narrow pavement, no streetlights, no houses, no cell service. Just trees, shadows, and the soft hum of tires rolling over old asphalt. At first, everything felt normal. The radio played quietly, some late-night talk show host filling the car with meaningless chatter. My headlights cut a thin tunnel through the darkness, revealing trunks of trees packed tightly together, like a crowd holding its breath. The road curved gently, disappearing just beyond where my lights could reach. About 10 miles in, I noticed the fog. It wasn't thick at first, just a low mist hugging the ground, drifting lazily across the road. I slowed down, rolled the window down a crack, expecting the sharp smell of wet leaves or cold earth. Instead, the air smelled stale, like something sealed away for too long. The radio crackled and went silent. I tapped it once, then twice. Nothing. The silence inside the car felt heavier than it should have, as if sound itself had been swallowed by the trees. I told myself it was nothing. Old roads mess with signals. Fog rolls in. Radios die. Ordinary explanations stacked neatly in my mind, forming a thin wall against the unease creeping up my spine. Then I saw the footprints. They appeared suddenly in the beam of my headlights, dark impressions in the thin layer of moisture on the road. Bare footprints. Human. Walking in the same direction I was driving. I slowed almost to a stop, my eyes fixed on them. They were too clear, too deliberate. Whoever had made them wasn't running. They were walking calmly, steadily right down the center of the road. There was no one ahead of me. The footprints continued for several yards, then veered slightly to the left, and ended. Not faded, not scattered. Just gone, as if the person had stepped off the road and vanished into the trees. I sat there longer than I should have, foot hovering over the brake, heart pounding in my ears. My mind raced through possibilities. Someone playing a prank. A hiker. A drunk wanderer who'd slipped into the woods. None of those explanations explained why there was no sound, no movement, no sign of anyone at all. I pressed the gas and kept going. The fog thickened as I drove deeper into the forest. My headlights reflected back at me, turning the world into a gray wall that felt uncomfortably close. The trees seemed closer too, their branches arching over the road like ribs forming a cage. Then the road dipped. It wasn't a steep descent, but enough that my headlights angled down for a moment. When they leveled out, again, something was standing in the road. I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded slightly before stopping just a few feet away. My heart felt like it was trying to escape my chest. At first, I thought it was a deer. Tall, thin shape. Then it lifted its head. It was a man. At least, it looked like one. He stood perfectly still, facing away from me. His clothes were dark, soaked through, clinging to his body like he'd been standing in the rain for hours. His posture was wrong. Too stiff. Too upright. Like someone holding themselves in place with effort. I rolled the window down an inch and called out, my voice shaking despite my attempt to sound calm. No response. I honked the horn. The sound echoed unnaturally, stretching too long before dying out. The man didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't even seem to breathe. A cold realization settled over me. I couldn't see his feet touching the ground. The fog curled around his lower half, swallowing everything below the knees. My eyes strained, searching for any sign of motion. That's when his head began to turn. Slowly, painfully slowly. Not all the way. Just enough that I could see the edge of his face in profile. His skin looked wrong. Pale, stretched tight, like it didn't belong to him. And his mouth was smiling. I didn't wait to see more. I jerked the steering wheel and floored the gas, swerving around him. As I passed, I forced myself not to look, but something made me glance in the side mirror anyway. He was facing the car now. His eyes were open impossibly wide, reflecting my taillights like glass. His smile had grown, stretching too far across his face, as if it were being pulled by invisible hands. Then he raised one arm. Not to wave. Not to stop me. He pointed. Straight down the road. I drove faster than I ever had on that road, my hands slick with sweat, knuckles white around the steering wheel. The trees blurred past, shadows twisting into shapes that seemed to lean toward the road. Every instinct screamed that I was being chased, even though the mirror showed nothing behind me. That's when the knocking started. 3 slow taps from the back of the car. Tap, tap, tap. I froze, my foot easing off the gas despite myself. The sound came again, louder this time. From inside the trunk. I shook my head, laughing breathlessly, trying to convince myself I was imagining it. Old cars make noises. Roads cause vibrations. Fear plays tricks. Then the tapping changed. It became scratching. Long, dragging sounds, like fingernails being pulled across metal. The noise moved, sliding from one side of the trunk to the other, then up, toward the rear window. I screamed and accelerated, the engine whining in protest. The scratching stopped abruptly, replaced by a heavy thud that shook the entire car. Something hit the roof. The impact dented the metal inward slightly, and I heard weight shift, something moving above me. The car felt unbalanced, swaying as if whatever was up there was crawling. I didn't think. I didn't slow down. I just drove. The forest road twisted sharply, curves coming faster than I remembered. My headlights caught glimpses of movement between the trees, shapes slipping away just as I focused on them. Tall forms. Too many limbs. Heads tilted at angles that made my stomach turn. The weight on the roof slid toward the windshield. A hand appeared. It pressed flat against the glass, fingers splayed wide. The skin was grayish, almost translucent, veins dark beneath the surface. The fingers were too long, bending slightly backward at the joints. Then another hand joined it. And then a face. It lowered itself into view, staring down at me through the windshield. Its features were distorted, as if someone had tried to recreate a human face from memory and failed. The eyes were too close together, the nose barely more than a suggestion, the mouth stretched into that same impossible smile. It opened its mouth. I expected a scream. Instead, I heard my own voice. My name, whispered softly, spoken in my exact tone. The sound crawled into my ears and wrapped around my thoughts, making my vision blur. I swerved violently, barely keeping the car on the road. The creature lost its grip, sliding off the windshield and disappearing into the darkness with a dull thump. The road straightened ahead, and through the fog I saw something I hadn't expected to feel so grateful for. A set of headlights. Another car, approaching from the opposite direction. I flashed my lights frantically, waving one hand out the window. As the car drew closer, I felt the pressure in the air ease slightly, like the forest itself was retreating. The other vehicle passed without slowing. For a split second, our headlights illuminated the space between us. In that instant, I saw the inside of the other car. Every seat was empty, but in the back window, pressed from the inside, were 2 pale hands. And a face, smiling at me as it disappeared into the darkness behind me. The fog lifted suddenly, as if someone had flipped a switch. The trees thinned, and the road widened into familiar pavement. Streetlights appeared, warm and steady, banishing the shadows that had clung to me for miles. I didn't stop driving until I reached my apartment. I didn't check the car. I didn't look at the roof or the trunk or the windshield. I locked the door behind me and sat on the floor until dawn. The next morning, I went outside. There were handprints on my windshield. From the inside. The forest road never appeared on any map again. Locals avoided it without explanation. Sometimes, late at night, drivers swear they hear knocking from their trunks or see smiling faces in fog mirrors, always pointing forward, urging them deeper, never allowing them to turn back. Even now, I avoid empty roads at night. Forest shadows feel too watchful. When fog rolls in, I swear I hear slow footsteps behind my car, matching my speed, waiting for the moment I'm brave enough to look back.